Your imagination is the most powerful tool you have. You can connect to anyone and anything as you crank up your imagination. Dreaming is alchemy, turning thoughts into things. As you dream, you raise your vibration to the level of which you want to create. The question is, do I allow myself to dream at a high enough level? Every one of the greatest ideas in the world didn't come from staring at the page, but from when you took a step back and the idea chased you down. Your mind is a receiver to another world, to a world of infinite riches. So the greatest question you can ask yourself is, am I thinking big enough? Did you know you were taught not to imagine because imagination would set you free? Turns out daydreaming isn't a bad thing. It's a skill, but when you use that skill, you become dangerous, unstoppable because you rise above the tribe. And the tribe wants to keep you small. The tribe wants to keep you stuck. The tribe wants to keep the status quo. But you were not born for safety. You were born for greatness. And when you learn how to harness the power of your imagination, the only limits to how far you can go are those in your mind. Today we'll talk about harnessing this superpower, the one that's always been inside of you, just waiting to come out. Plus, do a powerful manifestation meditation just before the end. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation and the best-selling author of Awe, the automatic writing experience, where you learn how to tap into your subconscious, communicate with angels and guides, supercharge your law of attraction and manifestation skills, and work at an entirely new level. So welcome to the show, everyone. Are you ready to shine? Woohoo! All right, before we dive right into things, can you remember back to school? Can you remember daydreaming, getting lost in your thoughts, or like me, getting in trouble for staring out a window, usually thinking about the next bike ride I was going to go on? Maybe you were told to pay attention, stop daydreaming, or get serious. There's nothing more serious than daydreaming. Because we don't live in a physical world. We live in a magical world. We live in an energetic world. If you get one thing out of this talk or out of any of my talks, it is not only that you are a spiritual being having a human existence. You're an energetic being bringing thought plus emotion into matter. So, your imagination is the most powerful tool you have. Because when you learn how to use your imagination, you are literally in the manifestation process, transmuting energy into things. This is something every child knows, particularly before the age of 7 when they're in this hypnagogic state or this theta brainwave state 24/7. We'll talk more about this in a little bit. But kids know how to imagine and kids know how to manifest. They develop fantasies, they develop stories, they develop imaginary friends who aren't so imaginary after all. But that's a story for another day. But as they cranked up that imagination, what they could attract into their lives, what you could attract into your life as a child was almost unstoppable. Almost, that is, until it got squashed down. As a child, your manifestation skills were at their greatest. You could attract a bike, you could attract candy, you could attract a doll, you could attract a dollhouse, you could attract loved ones to come visit, whomever, whatever, almost whatever you desired. You could attract through your imagination. So let's get you back there. Let's get you back to the imaginal realm, to this place where you can literally attract and manifest whatever you desire by seeing it first in your mind's eye. It's really not what you think about you bring about. And I've been talking about it is what you sing about you bring about. But most importantly, it is what you dream and imagine about. What you dream about, you bring about. Funny little story. One that's still playing out right now. This month, my wife challenged me. Jessica, also known as Pookie, also known as the Pook Star, she's been upgraded. She went into her automatic drawing and out of it came back and said, Michael, through my imagination, I'm adding the word through my imagination, I saw that we get to teach a manifestation mastery circle each week. I'm like, very, very cool. What's that about? Well, once a week, you're going to be teaching from one of the great masters, but a different master each month. Very cool. First month, you're going to teach Napoleon Hill. Cool. How does it get any better than this? Next month, you're going to teach Neville Goddard. Awesome. And Michael, I want you to go into the imaginal realm. I want you to go into your automatic writing, and I want you to channel Napoleon Hill. What? I write about it in our book, Automatic Writing. I talk about how you can get in touch with whomever or whatever, spirit guides, angels. This is the #1 angels and spirit guides book on Amazon, for that matter. Just came out. Woohoo! It was imagined into existence. And so I talk about channeling the greats. I talk about calling in whomever you want. But it's one thing to talk about it, and it is another thing to actually do it. How was she able to give me that idea? And then how was I able to do it? First, she birthed that idea from her imagination. It's a great idea. I'm very capable of it. You will be too after you learn automatic writing. But I hadn't thought about it because I hadn't dreamed that big. And that's a big piece of what I want to train and help teach you how to do today, is how to dream and imagine bigger than you ever thought before. So now each week, and we've had 3-4 classes so far with Napoleon Hill. Next week is with Neville Goddard. I've gone quiet, gone into this imaginal realm, gone into this hypnagogic state, basically the state where you're half here, half on the other side of the veil. I teach you how to do that in automatic writing. And I've connected with Napoleon Hill. And I said, what do you have to share for today? Next week, it'll be with Neville Goddard. You can connect with anyone and anything on the other side of the veil. Certainly loved ones who've passed on at the very least. Or in our case, a baby who's been flitting around for we're just waiting to come in. You can connect to anyone and anything as you crank up your imagination. How to dream and grow rich. The question is, what does it mean to dream? It means to get out of the physical heaviness, the physical limitations of the heavy world, to go into the ethos, or what's called the hypnagogic state, to plug into the vibration of the universe and play with energy. I've talked about it in past weeks, how in the old days, Napoleon Hill used to talk about having to trick or deceive your subconscious to create a new future. So you would have to say, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich. And you actually have to feel it and see yourself rich. And then you would become rich. Now what he talks about is actually there is an infinitude of doors. This is something I've been teaching for quite a while. There's an infinitude of doors, an infinitude of futures. What we get to do to unlock the door to the future we desire is to get in a resonant frequency, to get in attunement with. In other words, dreaming is alchemy, turning thoughts into things. As you dream, you raise your vibration to the level of which you want to create. You raise your vibration to the level at which you want to create. Why? Because it's already here. Your vibration pops open the door. So the question is not, can I attract that? The question is not, is that possible for me? The question is, do I allow myself to dream at a high enough level? Why do kids get what they want before they're tamped down, that is? Because nobody's told them you couldn't dream at that higher level. Once you start telling kids to get real, to get serious, that's not possible, that's exactly what happens. When you tell a child that's not possible, what you do is you kill their dream. They're no longer able to vibrate at the resonant level to unlock the door. Your dreams, chances are, have been squashed or tamped down as well. It's not possible for me to have that. I couldn't possibly do that. It's too late for me to do that. My body wouldn't let me. No. It's the tribe that wouldn't let you. It's the tribe that squashed you down. It's well-meaning loved ones who told you to get serious, but the world is too serious to be serious. It's too heavy. It's too laden in this physicality. But the game is not played in this physicality. It was still a little bit in Napoleon Hill's time, but the game is now played at an energetic level. What you dream about, you bring about. At least your waking dreams. We don't have to worry so much about nightmares, although there's certainly techniques in the automatic writing experience to work with your nightmares, to learn from your nightmares, and then to plant different seeds into your subconscious for you to dream at night. But let's talk about the imagination and how we can begin to program it. Actually, first we must talk about the definition of your imagination. For imagination is not what you think. Imagination is not what you think, or more specifically, it doesn't come from where you think. Well, my imagination comes from my thinking. No. Imagination doesn't come from you. It never did. You don't own your imagination. It's a crazy thought. You didn't plant your imagination. What do you mean? By definition, the thinking mind doesn't imagine. How crazy is that? The thinking mind doesn't imagine. It builds on the ideas that come to us, but the ideas didn't come to us from us. I know this may sound off, but think about it. When's the last time you had a great idea that didn't just, eureka, pop into your head? Every one of the greatest ideas in the world didn't come from staring at the page, but from when you took a step back and the idea chased you down. Where'd it pop in from? That's the question. And that's what we can train you to do. Thomas Edison did it in all of his great inventions. He played in the hypnagogic state on the other side of the veil. He actually used a technique where he kept keys dangling in a bowl, and he would half go to sleep, the keys would fall, he would get an idea, he would write it down. Salvador Dali, an amazing artist. You may have seen his melting clock or stopwatch off the edge of a table. He brought his greatest ideas back from that hypnagogic state, from the imaginal realm as well. So many of the greatest artists have done this. Da Vinci, Michelangelo, and on and on and on and on it goes. They drew back from the other side of the veil. That's too where automatic writing comes in, which trains you to get in this hypnagogic state and draw the answers back to you. Truth be told, the answers are always already there. The answer to whatever problem you're facing, problem I'll put in quotes, is already there. We just need to get into a vibrant or a resonant frequency, to get in attunement through our imagination, through our dreams, and it will appear. You can't shake hands with another hand that is dodging all over the place unless you get in frequency and in attunement with you. And then it's almost as if the hand comes to you. That's what we're talking about. Self-agency says when it comes to imagination, we have to talk about self-agency. Self-agency says that you create everything, that you are in charge, that you are the master of your mind. But let's play with this for a minute. What if you're not the master of your mind? What if you're not in charge? But instead, and I have a dear friend, a dear friend. He's an amazing physicist. He's worked on the Hubble telescope optics. He's worked on like nanorobots that go into earthquakes, little mosquito things, and look for survivors. He talks about the wrinkles in the brain making the world's most perfect receiver. What if your mind is the world's most amazing receiver, able to tune into anything you desire? Think about that. I could tune into anything I desire. Then the only limit to what you can dream or achieve, or dream and grow rich, the only limit is the station you dare to choose. We're going to come back to that word dare, because fear and imagination often go hand in hand, or fear is the governor to our limitation. So, for instance, my wife Jessica, right now, she is in San Diego. She's playing with the ducks. She went sailing, she went paddleboarding, but what excites her most is the ducks. Now, we live at a retreat center in Joshua Tree for the winter. There are no ducks here. However, I've really been working on my imagination. And so when my wife says, I need ducks, well, I don't say, let me go buy some ducks. Not gonna do that. I don't even know if you could. They're not an endangered species, but they're a protected species. However, what if I got a kiddie pool out in the desert? Would that attract ducks? A quick search online says, yeah, absolutely it will. Also be careful, because if they lay eggs, they're a protected species, and now you've got to guard those eggs with your life. But it says a kiddie pool will attract ducks. And it's a great way to give ducks a reprieve in the desert, to give them a little oasis. So we could actually have ducks here in Joshua Tree. Actually, it's theoretically possible. Why am I bringing up ducks in the desert? Because I've been playing with my imagination. Instead of saying, I'm sorry, there are no ducks here, I say, what else is possible? We never know until we begin to imagine it. So what we do is we put it into our imagination, we play with it, we tune into it, and then maybe we go searching for it. The secret is, the idea of the ducks didn't come from me. I talk about this all the time. Life is a cosmic setup. Every single great idea you had comes from someplace else. This doesn't mean you get down on yourself that the greatest idea doesn't come from you, because you're a co-creator, you're a co-conspirator. You're the one who's the alchemist. Spirit cannot create into matter. You can create into matter. Quantum science says you can look at a wave and it becomes a particle. Quantum science says that everything is everywhere until there is an observer. You're the alchemist. You turn thought into matter. So when the idea comes to you, ducks, desert, and you go searching and then you get a kiddie pool, that was your creation, a co-creation with spirit, of course. Why do I say this? Because the greatest ideas come to us for a reason. We get to feel into it and see what that reason is. Who knows? Maybe it's to have ducks here in the desert, so that maybe we then get a ranch that has a giant pond, or that we live in a place where we build a pond, or who knows? It's steering, it's guidance. But what we want to do is start practicing with our imagination. So for myself, I go into automatic writing each morning. I get into the imaginal realm, and I dream, I play, I mold, I futurescape. I'm continuously refining this skill. Your mind is a receiver to another world, to a world of infinite riches, if you choose to use it so. Because what you see with your mind's eye, I see ducks in the desert. How does it get any better than this? If you know me, I carry around a rooster wherever I go, a pet rooster by the name of Ruru. Apparently he prefers Ruby Roo. I have no idea how that even took place. But if you can see it in your mind's eye, then you can create it. It even goes beyond that. Recently watching, I don't know why, it's one of my favorite movies that has a beautiful hero's arc to it. It's about a gamer. It's about a high school kid. He's in the game world, playing on his computer, and he beats the bad guy in a bamboo forest. The next thing you know, he's actually in this world, rather than in his gaming world, drawn into ancient China and has to go on this quest to save the princess. And at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, he finds himself in a fight with the bad guy to save the princess's life in a bamboo forest. But guess what? He's been here before in his mind's eye. And he defeats the bad guy and goes on to win the princess, or save the princess. We'll see about winning the princess. Woohoo! How does it get any better than this? What he did, in essence, his gaming was playing in an imaginal world, playing in the dream world. But what he did is he then impressed upon his subconscious a blueprint so that when he was in the real world, he goes, aha, I've seen this before. I know exactly what to do. And so he drew reality in through his imagination. Another brief example, fun one of mine. So I used to be a pro cyclist, and I raced in Europe for a number of years before I was hurted by an automobile. As the French doctor told me in the hospital, I was hurted by the automobile. And I was going, au contraire, the automobile hurted me. With that said, before I got over there, I had this device set up called rollers. It's 3 rollers, kind of like giant rolling pins that you would use to roll out dough, set up one and two behind each other that you place the bicycle on. It had bars that hold it together. You place the bicycle on, and you could ride your bicycle indoors, and you had to balance on these drums. Big rollers. They are drums, drum-like devices. And if you went too far, they're about 18 inches wide, too far to the one side, you fell off of them, too far to the other side, you fell off of them. I had this vision in my head. I pictured myself, imagined myself a great sprinter. And I was a decent sprinter. And I saw myself going to Europe, getting into these giant classics, these amazing races with hundreds of riders, and coming toward the finish line. And everybody starts to get into a sprint, and we're all going for it. And we're elbow to elbow, wheel to wheel, bouncing bicycle after bouncing bicycle. And I make it through. And get in the prize money. My first dreams were about getting in the prize money rather than winning. I guess I got to set that bar even higher. So here's what I did. I first pictured it in my mind's eye over and over again. And then I actually took 2 wooden chairs and put them in front or to the sides of my front wheel, to where if I went too far to the left, I banged into the chair here. Too far to the right, I banged into the chair there. And I started riding my rollers, imagining I'm going into a sprint, and I'm banging bicycles with other people, going into the chair, into the chair, into the chair, bouncing front wheels, bounce, 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 wheels, and into the prize money. So I get to Europe. And what happens? Well, first off, it took me about a month for my team to let me race. Another story. I get to race, and a few races in, I'm in a classic, actually called a semi-classic. I'm in this huge race in Belgium, cobblestones, amazing athletes from around the world. This dates me, Eastern Bloc and Western, and come up near the finish line. And there's a huge group still. You could cut the tension with a knife. You could feel it. It's like electricity running through everybody. And all of a sudden, it's a few hundred yards out, and we are in a sprint. And I have never seen anything like it, beyond anything that the Americans were capable of doing at the time. Nobody fell, but everyone was bouncing into each other, kind of like linebackers, wheel against wheel, handlebar against handlebar, fist against fist, bounce, 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 bounce. And I am bouncing wheels and threading my way through and into the prize money. Because I saw it in my mind's eye and I practice it. The mind-blowing question is, did that idea come from me? No. Heck no. Universe told me. It planted the seed. It's a cosmic setup. It said, Michael, in your sprints, you're going to need to know how to be in tight quarters, tighter than you've ever been in before. And so you're going to need to practice it. So first part of imagination is we start to tune in. Second part is we take action on that. So our job, first and foremost, like ham radio operators, is to start to tune into the frequency and to tune into the greatest frequency we can. That's where the magic lies. The magic's inside each and every one of us, because nobody here, you certainly, don't have an imagination. Now, your imagination can be weak. Your imagination can be super weak. It can be like spaghetti legs or spaghetti arms. And your imagination, it's a muscle. Just as much as I need to work my muscle to be able to lift weights with my bicep, you need to be able to lift with your imagination to tune in at a higher frequency. One more story. After I came back from Europe, I got hit by a car, took many years to recover. I then became a national class sprinter. I was a big boy. I was over 200 pounds. I beat the Olympic team for a race. That's my minor claim to fame. I'll take it. And I could lift over 1,500 pounds on a device called a hip sled, where you're on your back, you push the leg up above you, over 1,500 pounds above my head with my legs. How could I do that? Well, in a sense, nobody told me I couldn't, because I could see it in my mind's eye. Now, at first, I'd lift a little bit of weight and I get a little bit scared. Can my knees handle this? Can my back handle this? Can everything handle this? And then I would imagine and I would play with it and I would see that it's okay and I would tell myself it's okay. And then I'd lift a little bit more, see that it's okay, tell myself it's okay, play in my mind's eye that it's okay. And on it went till I could lift over 1,500 pounds. Now, that may sound like a lot of weight, but my wife, Jessica, she's 112 pounds. She was also all-state as a sophomore in high school at the 400 meter. So this girl can sprint. And I watched her lift over 1,000 pounds at 112 pounds. That strength to weight ratio is just crazy. Why? She watched me doing it. And she said, well, I can do better than that. And she kept doing more, saw it in her mind's eye, felt it out, got in that resonant frequency, like catching that arm, locked in, did it, saw more in her mind's eye, played with it, got that attunement, got that frequency, did it, and on she went. So, what am I saying here? I'm saying fear is the only limitation to your imagination. I know. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. The big challenge with fear is that it squashes us down. What do? Play with a higher level radio station, just one on the side of the edge of fear, until it is so easy to imagine that we can go a little bit higher and a little bit higher into a little bit higher, tuning up, you've heard that tune, tuning up until we're making the impossible possible, which means 4 key things we get to do, and then we're going to dive into the next piece of this puzzle. 4 key things you get to do. 1, take the time to daydream each and every day. Put it into your schedule. Actually put down a block of time, daydreamy time. Or put into your schedule automatic writing time. I'll dive into more of that in a second. But make sure you have time to play on the other side of the veil every single day. Just like weightlifting, we need to keep practicing to put the pin down and put the pin down further and further still. Secondly, practice putting a question out to the universe. I love to do this when I go for walks, when I go for runs, when I go for bike rides. Put a question out there. I like to picture taking the question is a gold coin, and you take the gold coin, you drop it in through the third eye, down into your heart, down into consciousness, because, okay, truth be told, this and the gut, That's your harp. That's your entire tuning fork right there to be able to play a melody, a tune of the universe. And as you play that tune, you begin to attract it in. So we go for a walk, we go for a ride, and we say, how do I bring ducks into the desert? What a silly question. I love that. How do I bring ducks into the desert? I never thought I'd be talking about ducks in the desert today. And so I put that question into my heart. And then I go out for a walk in the desert, and I look at the Joshua trees, and I look at the snake holes, and I look at these magma rock formations from bubbled up lava from millions of years ago. And I say, how do I bring ducks into the desert? And I just start playing with this question. I have chewing gum with this question. I see what pops up with this question. And what I'm doing with each step as I'm feeling out how I bring ducks into the desert, I am strengthening that muscle. Then, of course, you can do a practice. So 1 is to daydream. 2 is to put a question out to the universe. 3rd is to go into a practice. Like automatic writing, I'm extremely biased because it changes people's lives. It changed my life. Use it. Go into the hypnagogic state each and every day and play there. Write out what you want. Write out what you desire. There's a process in the automatic writing experience called the Woohoo 8. I have a yellow Tesla with gold wheels outside. I don't say that because I'm such a great guy. I've got a yellow Tesla with gold wheels. I do it because I brought it back from the ethos. I dreamed of having the most amazing electric car. And I went into this process called Woohoo 8, which is a process of woohoo, getting in high-level energy, high-level vibration, high-level attunement with the universe, and drawing back whatever you desired. And I drew back perhaps the only yellow and gold Tesla in existence, and it now has a license plate, Woohoo 8 on it. So go into your automatic writing or a process like that, get into a high-level energetic state, and draw it back. Lastly, play with your mind every night before you go to sleep, every morning when you wake. Our best man, Jack, who was our best man at our wedding at 89 years young and was a huge Course in Miracles guy. And he said, Michael, I don't really meditate, but what I do is I listen to Spirit each night before I sleep and each morning when I rise. And he would put ideas out there to Spirit as well. That's when the veil, when I say veil, I picture a curtain with the Wizard of Oz on the other side of it. That's where the curtain between this realm and the other realm, or as they said in Hermeticism, as they said in the Bible, as above, so below, or as within, so without. That is where you are closest to the other side. And the other side is what beams the light down. This world is the reflection. You're closest to the other side, which is where the light beams down a hologram here and we see a reflection. But everything is created first on the other side of the veil. Last thing at night before you go to sleep, first thing in the morning, you are still half here, half not. It's why we're in that daydreamy state. We can actually actively use this state. We can use this state for creation. We can use this state to call in whatever we desire. So let's play with it. So to repeat those 4, then we're going to move on from there, is first, take time to daydream every day. Put it in your calendar. Second, put a question out to the universe when you walk, when you run, when you drive, when you ride, whatever it is. Could be when you meditate. Third, go into a practice like automatic writing, play on the other side of the veil in your hypnagogic state. Like with a practice like Woohoo 8. Woohoo 8, that is. Fourth, get in the hypnagogic state every night and every morning before you sleep. All right, let's talk briefly about a concept Napoleon Hill called synthetic and creative creativity. Say that 10 times fast. Synthetic and creative creativity. What in the world is that? Well, synthetic creativity is where you take an idea and you build upon it and you build upon it very, very, very gradually, one rung up the ladder at a time. Creative, actually a synthetic and creative imagination. Synthetic imagination, you build one rung upon the ladder at a time, one after the next after the next. And then creative imagination, woohoo, this is where you skip the ladder. Or at least you skip many rungs of the ladder to where the ladder doesn't even exist anymore. Synthetic versus creative. Why is this important? Jessica and I have been gifted, and I've been gifted. She has too, but I'm looking at my life because I guess I know it better. I've been gifted many times over. We're skipping the rungs of the ladder, of imagining something so great that I said, I don't want to go A to B to C to D to E to F to G to get here. I just want to go like an electron changing state, boop, and be up there. That comes from playing in the imaginal realm. The more that you play there, the more you can take giant leaps of faith. It's not really faith. All the doors to your future exist. It's just getting in that vibrational alignment, attunement, and being there. And jumping your way up. So a good example of this, I guess we're talking about ducks and birds today. So here is one where I am playing. And one where it feels challenging, but I know there's an answer. See, synthetic, one step to the next, has a huge limit to it. If something similar to what you want to do hasn't been done, how are you going to see it, feel it, believe it, or achieve it? Very, very challenging. So you may have heard from one of my past shows, and I of course mentioned it earlier, I have a pet rooster. We have a pet rooster. He is the coolest pet in the world. He's also the loudest. The loudest. Although I say that's a limiting belief because we are working on this one diligently. And so oftentimes at my better moments, I call him Buddha-roo for his Buddha-like patience and quiet nature. And truth be told, starting around noon for the rest of the day, he is very Buddha-like. He's very quiet. He's often standing in one leg. We call it tree pose, yoga pose. And he's really, really cool. Mornings we're working on. But now, we want to travel the world. We want to go to South America. We want to go to Asia. We want to go everywhere. We want to teach. We want to learn. We want to spend time with indigenous elders. And we'd love a home, someplace warm and tropical. How does it get any better than this? The thinking mind goes, how are you going to take a rooster with you? A quick Google search online suggests that's difficult. More Google searching online says that's even more difficult. And more Google searching, and I could give up. However, I've been playing in an imaginal realm. I don't believe in synthetic creativity as the way, which is, well, somebody has to have done it. They had to have done something close. They have to have been able to do this and then that for me to be able to do it. No, I'm going to skip the ladder. I'm going to creative imagination. I'm going to playing in the state where I see myself traveling around the world with him. I see him flying on a plane. Maybe it's first class. More than likely, it's a private plane. Doesn't matter. I see it in my mind's eye. And it will happen. It's guaranteed to happen. Now, it's interesting because Napoleon Hill talked about synthetic and creative imagination in his day, when very, very few people were using creative imagination. One was the founder of Coca-Cola, who was given a formula, turned it into a brew, had this amazing idea of not just selling onesies or selling it at a local pharmacy, but how to make this a worldwide empire. Another one was Andrew Carnegie, who didn't know much about steel at all, but created an entire empire. Most people in the 20s and 30s were much more into the physicality, much more into the synthetic. One thing builds on the next, builds on the next. But those who built the greatest empires did it by skipping the rungs of the ladder. Cool thing is, back then it was hard. It was harder. people vibrated at a heavier, at a lower level. This is where World War I, this is where World War II came about. Of course, we have our challenges today. There's no doubt. But I think the challenges today are us being an electron, starting to vibrate faster and faster, which seems like chaos, which seems like everything's going wrong right before we, boink, go to a higher state of consciousness. Of course, we get to choose it. It's a bifurcation of humanity, meaning a split. Bifurcated tongue is like a snake's tongue. We could go either direction. We could drive ourselves off the cliff. We could drive ourselves to a higher level of consciousness. But this vibration now, this chaotic state, is actually a quickening, a lightening of energy, which means it is even easier now to get to that other side of the veil. So I want to challenge you not to think linearly with your imagination. Don't use the synthetic so much as you use the creative, and really skip ahead. Last note, when we started this podcast, well, now YouTube show. When we started this, I had exactly 0 experience in podcasting. I was decent on a mic, but I had no experience at all. And I could have said, how do I eke by and go one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, and get a decent show going? Instead, I asked, how do I have a number 1 show right out of the gate? And I got to playing in that imaginal realm, and within 2 months after starting, we had the number 1 self-help and spiritual podcast worldwide. Why? Well, first off, I was neurotic and crazy about it, which is something that's called a powerful, positive obsession. What Napoleon Hill calls a dominant force. It's all I thought about. How do I do this? But I not only thought about it, and this thinking about it is energy going around, which is creating an electromagnetic force, attracting, drawing it in. And if you caught any of my other shows, I talked about using this force to attract in what you desire through your powerful positive obsession. But it also happened because I was playing on the other side of the veil. So we've talked about one powerful superpower here today, which is what you dream about, you bring about, and using your imagination. The second piece of it is, the second superpower is, in a sense, what you question about. Your imagination is not only tied up by your ability to imagine, but by your ability to ask better questions, because your imagination is linked to your limiting beliefs. It is directly linked to your limiting beliefs. So, as a kid, if you believed you spoke with spirit, you spoke with spirit. If you believed you had imaginary friends, you had imaginary friends. It was only when your parents or well-meaning people, or not so well-meaning, put limits on you that your imagination went from way out here to a smaller box and smaller box and smaller box. If one does not believe that they can fly, what's the point of even trying? If I don't believe that we can travel the world with the most amazing pet ever, okay, I'm super biased. I really love this dude. But then if I don't believe it's possible, why would I even try? The imagination pulls from the ethos. It's a giant digital radio platform, or it's like a massive YouTube on the other side. But you have to ask yourself, what do I want to watch? What do I want to listen to? What's even possible? My guess is that if I go on YouTube right now, and I'm sure some of you listening are going to go Google YouTube, and I put in, I don't know, ducks in the desert, or attracting ducks with kiddie pools. Who knows? I've just got to think, what are the greatest questions that I can ask? And chances are I will find what I'm looking for. Because your question is your tuning fork. Your question is the tuning fork. Your question is the tuning fork. You start playing with imagination. You start cranking up that energy. You start cranking up that energy. And then that energy of imagination hits that tuning fork. Bing! And you've got a lock. You're in attunement. You're in vibrational alignment with the universe. But attunement comes from the questions you ask. Attunement comes from the questions you ask. Inquiry and imagination. Remember this. Inquiry and imagination go hand in hand. If you don't ask, could I fly? How would you imagine the possibility of flying? If you don't ask, could I win a race? See, I was missing that element. And in all the time I was in Europe, I won only one race. I don't know if you caught that earlier. I was imagining getting in the prize money. And I got in the prize money. But I wasn't imagining winning the big Euro race. I hadn't asked a big enough question. With bigger questions, you get bigger, I'll say better, answers. Bigger questions, bigger answers. Bigger questions, better answers. See, we didn't come here to play it small. We didn't come here to play it safe. After all, a pine box, or something akin to that, is in each and every one of our futures. Why play it safe? Why do what others have done? Why ask the same questions that everyone else is asking? So the greatest question you can ask yourself is, am I thinking big enough? Am I thinking big enough? Are you thinking big enough? Think and Grow Rich, that book by Napoleon Hill, scares people away, many people away. It's an incredible bestseller, but it scares many people away because they see that word rich and they think that's not for me. First off, there can be money is the root of all evil, which it's actually the love of money, which actually isn't it. The obsession of money, actually that isn't even it. But it's money at the expense of other people that's the root of all evil. Money can do a heck of a lot of good. However, they see the word rich and they may think, I can't possibly do that. And they don't ask, is that true? I can't possibly live there. I can't possibly move there. I can't possibly have a spouse like that. That person is so out of my league. I was so in love with my female best friend in college. We raced bicycles together. We trained together. I helped coach her. I was so in love with this girl. But I was too afraid. No regrets now. I've got the most amazing wifey in the world. Woohoo! But I was too afraid to ask her out. I wouldn't even dare imagine it. And I certainly wouldn't challenge myself. My limiting belief was, I'm not worthy. And if I ask her out, I'll lose her as a friend, and I don't want to lose her as a friend. Eek. I never even asked myself, is that true? Am I thinking big enough? If I look back a year, 5 years, 10 years from now, will I regret that I didn't go for it? Ask bigger questions, get bigger answers. Yes, later on I shared, but it was too late, and it turned out that she liked me too. Ask bigger questions, get better answers. This is a practice. It's a practice. You get to look at everything and start flexing those question muscles. As a kid, we often did this until our parents squashed us down. I can remember the day I got squashed down. It wasn't my mom's fault. It was, but it wasn't. I was told to ask all the questions we could, which I did. And I probably drove them nuts, but they answered those questions. Until one day, the hot engine light came on in our little Mazda rotary engine station wagon. I was a little kid. The light goes on. I think there's steam probably coming out of the hood. And I'm starting to ask questions. At which point I'm told to zip it. That's a very polite PC term of what they were telling me, or more mom was telling me to do. And I got the idea that I couldn't ask these questions anymore. That hurt. That squashed my imagination down. You may have had your imagination squashed, your voice squashed as well. So we get to start flexing the muscle of our creativity. We get to start flexing the muscle of questioning. Questioning our beliefs. Questioning, is that true? Questioning, is that so? We live in the desert right now. Will it be hard for us to move someplace else? I don't know. Is there a way we can do it in flow? I don't know. Is there a way we can do it where everything is so incredibly easy, it's almost like going like that, and we find ourselves someplace even better? From this retreat center to someplace even better. How does it get any better than this? We get to ask these questions. Ask yourself, is this true? Well, I couldn't possibly do that. Is this true? Am I sure? There's no way I could. Am I sure? Here's another favorite of mine. And this one I use religiously. I love that. Continuously. Is it really impossible? First off, I'm no deaf. I don't believe in no. I believe in not yet. So if somebody tells me, no, you can't fly, I'll go, not yet. No, you can't walk on water. Not yet. But let's see what I can do to upgrade my beliefs, to upgrade my questions, to upgrade my imagination. And then why can't I? Why couldn't I do it? There's another great question. Or why can't I? Or why couldn't it be me? Why couldn't it be you? Why couldn't it be you? Well, because I'm at this low-level job, because I'm this, because I don't have money, because my parents, because of my history, because of my PTSD, because of my trauma, because of my. No. That gets to the 3 A's. It's a lesson for another day. Awareness. Become aware of your because I. Second A, ascribe a new meaning to it. Well, because I'm not strong enough means that I'm going to get even stronger than ever before. Flip it on its head. Awareness, ascribe, then action. Take action on it. So when you hear yourself saying no, or I can't, or that's not possible, challenge it with everything you've got. Awareness, ascription, action. Why couldn't it be you? The most dangerous thing is not a dreamer, but it's the one who chooses not to dream. I want to give a giant hug to everybody who feels like they can't dream, that feels it's not safe, that feels it can't be for them. You can have and be almost anything you desire. So without going into any of his past challenges, as I'm recording this, Tiger Woods has just gone off the cliff. Broken both legs very, very badly, broken a foot very, very badly, and I'm sure done other significant damage. I don't know if he can come back. I have no idea. That's up to him and spirit, a co-creative process. But I know, speaking as somebody who has twin titanium femurs, twin titanium hips, who had another titanium rod in my tibia and has had, oh good Lord, I don't know, I think I lost count, 16 orthopedic operations, or maybe it's 16 operations and 12 or 13 of those are orthopedic. I know that the biggest factor in him coming back is not the physical limitations of the body. It's his ability to imagine and question. Now, he is one of the most incredible golfers in the history of history. Why? Because he looks at shots a completely different way, because he plays it at a higher level in his imagination. He looks at the way others did it and he questions that and then plugs in a higher level possibility, gets in attunement, gets in vibrational alignment, lock, unlock, door goes open, ball goes in. My guess is if he wants it enough, he may be able to do the exact same thing with his rehabilitation. So he gets to ask the biggest questions. You get to ask the biggest questions. You get to play with what is possible and understand the true limits are only the limit of the level you dare to vibrate at. The only limitation is the level you dare to vibrate at. Remember, your question is the tuning fork. Your imagination is the energy. Bing! When it comes together, you can't help but have a lock. You can't help but open the door. So the last note, then we're going to go into a brief meditation, is you get to practice asking questions. Ask questions about everything. Why am I watching the show? Why am I listening to the woohoo guy? Why am I doing this in my life? Why does every day feel like Groundhog Day? Why am I here now? Where do I want to go? What would I like to do? What is possible if I knew I couldn't fail? And I first heard that from Dr. Wayne Dyer before I did a 5,000-mile solo 40-day unsupported bike ride across the country. 5,000 miles solo in 40 days on my own as a sprinter who sold all his racing gear. How did I do that? What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Challenge yourself and ask questions about everything. Everything, everything, everything. And then I would say, bring it to automatic writing. Automatic writing is the simplest, easiest tool to start to crank up that imagination, to get yourself on the other side of the veil, to talk with spirit, talk with angels, or if you don't believe in any of that, not a big deal. Talk with your inner wisdom. See what's possible. And then let's jump to the other side of just that. Get to the other side of what's possible. That's why I call the exercise in the book the Woohoo 8. Get to the other side of what's possible. Here, this is where you want to create. This is where you want to play. I see somebody scratching on a record. Who thought that up? How did that come into being? Who ran a needle across a record and go, wait a second, that's a cool sound. Somebody asked a question. Hey, wait, can I make music with that? And skipped. There was no somebody who scratched a little bit and somebody who scratched a little bit more. No, it seems to have come out of the ethos because somebody asked the question. Hey, can we make music with this? Started playing with it in their mind's eye. Bing, boom, bada bang. And then they did it. That's what I want you to do. So with that said, we are going to do the most amazing meditation right now. It's called the One Step Further meditation. Why is it called One Step Further? Because we all have some ability to imagine, although I'm now challenging you to stretch it further and build this muscle. But I want you to stretch it even further than you ever imagined possible. So I want to thank you for joining me before we go into meditation here. I can't recommend getting awe enough. I actually recommend getting 3 copies. Why would I say 3 copies? Get one for you so you can dive into the imaginal realm, so you can begin to create, so you can draw back into your life whatever you desire. Get a second for a loved one so they can do the same thing, or so that they don't steal your book. But give it to a family member, a friend, a child, whomever. And give a 3rd copy to someone who's really struggling and in need. Because this book is an attunement. It is a vibrational upgrade for you. It is that cosmic handshake. That's where you're going to draw everything back from. And I have seen so many people struggling, stressed out, anxious, depressed, even clinical depression. And I'm not a psychologist. I don't play one on TV. But when they get in vibrational attunement, it's like this heavy jacket has just been, or even a lead vest has been lifted off of them. And they start to feel better. And they start to feel lighter. And they start to imagine again. And at the end of the day, that imagination is a 4-letter word. HOPE. H-O-P-E. They have hope. So you can get automatic writing at Amazon, where it's a #1 new release, Angels and Spirit Guidebook. How does it get any better than this? You can get it at your local booksellers, and I want to support the local booksellers more than anything. We need them. I love them. I love you guys. You can also get it with tons of bonuses at automaticwriting.com. So you've got Amazon, you've got your local bookseller, and you've got automaticwriting.com. And it's called Awe, because, oh my God, when you get into this vibrational alignment, when you get into attunement, when you get into awe, that's exactly what happens. Awe, the automatic writing experience. All right, let's do a meditation, shall we? So I want you to sit up good and comfortable, but tall. Today, sometimes I encourage people to relax and kind of slump into their chair. But today, I want you nice and tall, because I want you thinking of your spine as an antenna plugged into the ethos, an antenna plugged into the heavens, or an antenna, you could even think of it as a net, a giant net, huge, tall net with this wave of water called the universe coming through. We could call it the ethos. And that net or antenna is going to scoop up and catch whatever dream you desire and bring it back into this reality. So up nice and tall but relaxed. Breathe in, down to the belly, and out. In through the nose, down to the belly, and out. In and out. Now, as you continue to breathe in and out, I want you to imagine that there's an energy coming up from your feet on each inhalation, up through your spine, out the top of your head, up to the heavens. And as you breathe out, it comes back down, around, and in front of you. You breathe in, you drop energy from your feet, through your tailbone, up through your spine, out the top of your head, up to the heavens, and around and down to the ground. In and up, down and around, up and down, up and down. What you're really doing right here is you're creating an electromagnetic motor. You're creating an attractor magnet to whatever you desire. I'm actually using my hands. You could do this as well, though you might find it a bit distracting. But I'm circling this energy as I do what's called a circle breath, as you become this amazing electromagnetic motor. As you continue to breathe in and out, I want you to imagine the most fantastical dream, vision, or future possible for you. I want you to see yourself there, whatever it is you're doing. I want you to feel yourself there. Maybe put your feet on the ground. Maybe it's the beach you're going to. Feel that sand between your toes. I want you to smell yourself there. Maybe it's taking in that smell of the salt water. I want you to hear yourself there. Can you hear the waves crashing, or what is it? I want you to even taste yourself there. For instance, if you're by the water, maybe it's the taste of the salt water in the air. See it, feel it, touch it, taste it, smell it. Really live this experience. Look all around you. What do you see? What do you hear? How does it get any better than this? Well, actually, it's a brilliant question I first heard from Dr. Dane here. How does it get any better than this? Well, what's one step further you can take? that would make this, quote, perfect experience even better? Is it an even better job? An even better beach? Which sounds kind of silly. But what is it that's one step further than you even dared to imagine? Maybe it's the rooster not only traveling with us, having his own private escort. You can almost see him flying the plane himself. A chicken who learns how to fly. What is one step further? Does it flutter your belly? Is it ever so barely believable? And now I want you to put yourself there again. Feel it. See it. Touch it. Smell it. Hear it. Taste it. And really embody this possibility. Usually it's right about here that we find our subconscious block, where we feel we can't go any further, we can't dream any bigger, we can't dream any higher. But I want you to leap to the other side of it. So what's one giant leap further you could take? That's just crazy, not even possible. There's no way that could happen. No way, Michael. Here's where I want you to play. Here's where I want you to live. Here's where I want you to forevermore reside. Look around you. What does this crazy possibility look like? You know where I'm going next. What does this crazy possibility feel like? Hey, this is pretty cool. What does it smell like? Maybe it smells like money. Wow, it's kind of cool. What does it sound like? Maybe it's silence, the most amazing music. Or the symphonic harmony of angels. What does it taste like? How does it make you feel in your heart? Breathe that into your heart, that feeling. And let it out. Breathe it in and let it out. Breathe in and feel this magical goodness of something that's too great almost to even imagine up till now. And let it out. What you're doing with each breath is you are attuning to this higher frequency. You are attuning to a greater dream. You are attuning to a level that once was the impossible, and I will now challenge you and call the baseline. Because once you have seen it, felt it, experienced it, and vibrated at that level in your imagination, you begin to draw it to you in this world. Breathe in and feel it going into your heart. Breathe out and release it. Breathe in and feel this most magnificent dream. It's already here. How does it get any better than this? And release. Breathe in one more time. and release. Before you let this dream go and come back down to earth, and really, the castles in the sky are where you're meant to live, I want you to imagine this golden, glowing light all around you. It's glowing such an amazing Midas touch gold. Gold of possibilities. Gold of riches, of affluence, of manifestation, of love and of light. As you breathe in and feel this most incredible dream, you're breathing into this golden, glowing light of possibility. Here in this glowing golden light, not only is anything possible, it has already happened. Time's not real. There's an infinitude of futures, and you are now in tune, attuned, with the greatest future possible. Until you take one step even further into your greatness. Feel it. See this golden glow. Lock it in. And it is so. Feel free to stay in this state as long as you would like. And when you come back, realize you can replay this meditation and come back here any time you desire to get that tune up, to get into attunement. And now keep ruminating on this and playing it back and playing it back. Make it your powerful positive obsession to play in this imaginal realm every chance you can. Love you guys so much. Have the most amazing afternoon, evening, morning, day ahead, dream ahead, imagination ahead, and life ahead. Although I hope to see you next time. Remember, if you dream about it, you can bring about it, or as the expression now goes, dream and grow rich and shine bright. Woohoo! Love you guys. I hope you had as much fun with this talk as I just did. I love what I've been getting out of Napoleon Hill. I love what I'm getting out of all the masters for our Manifestation Mastery Circle. Come join us for our next Mastery Circle. Beginning this coming Wednesday, we're going to be talking about Neville, Goddard, and how you can link up, get in attunement, and attract at an even higher level, even higher than I've taught you here today. And if you want to take your manifestation and dreaming to a whole new level, then get the automatic writing experience. You can pick it up at Amazon.com. You can get it at your local bookseller. I love the local bookshops. And of course, you can get it with tons of bonuses at automaticwriting.com. Again, that's automaticwriting.com. And if you caught any of this interview, I recommend 3 copies. Get one for you. Get one for a loved one to help them change their life and get them playing in the imaginal realm. And get one for somebody who's really struggling and help change their lives. Speaking of changing your life, to check out more amazing life-changing shows, click here. Be sure to subscribe below and click on the bell icon to be notified of upcoming shows, YouTube premieres, and live events every Sunday night with me. How does it get any better than this? Love you guys so much. Shine bright. Woohoo! Love you.